Hey, it looks like we only have a couple minutes left. So this is Melissa. I'll be moderating today. Deb Eglin will be presenting. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. And then that way we can go through a few of the instructions on how to comment and question if you have them. So just a few meeting notes. Again, like I said, as Deb gets ready, if your volume is too loud, you can go ahead and use your speakers to turn it down. Also, if the presenter is too soft, you can use your speakers to turn it up. Handouts were mailed out. If you did not receive handouts, we apologize. They will be made available on the Child Nutrition website after all workshops have ended. If you have a question, please use the raise your hand button. When you're called on, please unmute yourself and speak. Please mute when finished. If you have a comment or question that you would like to share, you can also type it in the chat box. Convenience, this recording will be available in the same meeting room after the completion of the meeting. A certificate of completion will be emailed to all participants enrolled through Eventbrite. Q&As will be available on the Child Nutrition website at the following link. Thank you for your attendance today and your attention to these details. Now I would like to introduce Deb Eglin, the Child Nutrition Program Assistant Director. Deb?
Hello, I'm on. I hope you can hear me. And I hope you can see this. I think I'm sharing the right screen.
Yep, it looks good, Deb.
All right, sounds good. Well, it's on the wrong side again, so I'll have to look to the side. Okay, what we're talking about today is professional development and the fresh fruit and veggie program and special diets. So it's a lot to go over. We'll get started. Sorry. First of all, on professional development, it's required for all school food personnel since 2015. So all staff working on your child nutrition programs need some kind of professional development. The hours vary according to the position. So the director needs 12 hours a year, managers need 10 hours. Staff that work more than 20 hours a week need 6 hours a year. Staff less than 20 hours a week might be part-timers, substitutes, whatever, 4 hours a year. The year goes from July 1st to June 30th. Minimum length that you can credit is 15 minutes. And if you think 4 hours is too much for your part-timers, that's really only 16 little 15-minute sessions. So it's not that bad. There must be one food service director in every district. We hear this all the time. Well, we're small. We're only 37 people. I'm not calling my cook the food service director. You can skip the manager step, but you cannot skip the food service director step. If the superintendent doesn't want to do it, he needs to make his head cook be the food service director. This person we frequently call the lead food service worker in small districts. They need that 8-hour sanitation class and then every 5 years an update. If it's a big district, they would have one food service director, and then maybe if they had 15, 18 sites, the manager at each of those sites would be called a manager and need 10 hours a year of continuing ed. Also would need this 8-hour sanitation class and every 5 years, the 3-hour update. It's really good, actually, that USDA requires continuing ed because it makes you get smarter in your job. And most of us are just curious. We want to know new things all the time anyway. Everybody has to be trained in civil rights every year. You've probably heard that in a couple sessions now. We sent that out with the handouts too, and it's in your production record book. So you can take that out and copy it. Make sure everybody goes over that every year. Write it on their professional development log. I talked about food safety already, but other good things to train on are identifying reimbursable meals. People who work with the free and reduced apps, if they're new or just need a refresher, they could use training on that. This is the USDA professional training website. You can search, like if you wanted to look for cashier training, offer versus serve training, food safety, you could put it in here and search for what you want. You can even pick what length you would like that training to be. I put this up because USDA has a professional training tracker tool. I know Ivy and Minot uses it. I'm not sure who else, but anyway, it's online and it's a little tougher than ours. If you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, that's our nice, easy one-pager where you just write the person's name and what they took all year. And don't send this to us unless you're having a review. You keep it at your school. We don't check on your continuing ed until you actually have a review, and then we'll ask for it for all of your staff. This is the ICN, Institute of Child Nutrition. They have all kinds of different resources that you can also use. Everyone tells us the hardest thing is just getting registered with a password and an ID. After that, it's really easy to get in and out on classes, and then they give you certificates after the classes. They have a whole bunch of things on the food buying guide right now. The ICN also does a produce safety university in conjunction with USDA every year. We've actually had several people from North Dakota who got selected to get to go to Produce University in person, which is really nice. We can only have 4 people from a state, and it's in great places like California, Atlanta, places that have a better growing season than us. Well, this year, because of COVID, they canceled all of the in-person trainings that they were doing. And so they're having webinars. I sent the handout for that just a little bit ago. If you want to register for any of those webinars, the people who have attended said it is absolutely fantastic. They go over all kinds of things about judging good produce, speccing good produce, just things you can do with produce, produce safety, have all kinds of resources and different things you could use. And it's Chef Cindy, who is our favorite on a whole bunch of things. All right, Team Nutrition. That is a USDA education site that has all kinds of free resources. You can order things like stickers, you can order little books, table tents, you can watch webinars. If you are not a member, and you would know if you were a member because you'd be getting emails from them at least once a month, you can go on their website, which is on here, and then click join, and then join as a school person. And if you're an official school person, you can request free things coming to your school for that you could actually use in classrooms, in your cafeteria, all over the place. And maybe you don't want some of the curriculums they have there for like just 3rd graders or maybe 5th and 6th graders. You could ask teachers if they would like some things, but that is a great website to get on and see what kind of resources they're doing. Rhonda gets all kinds of great emails from different places, and this one is from Fight Back. It is about safe recipes. It's a webinar that's coming up next week. You can register if you want. It's about taking a recipe and then adding some steps to make sure that it's food safe. And then I guess they're going to have some kind of a recipe contest that you could find out about as well. Sometimes people have recipes contests where you could win $10,000 or a piece of equipment or whatever. It would be great to use this as one of your continuing ed things this year if you have time for it and see what's going on. It sounds interesting. You can also ask your vendors if they have any kind of continuing ed that you could use. There's all kinds of commodity groups like the Pear Association, the Cherry Association. We have the Wheat Commission, the Beef Commission, all of those. They have different trainings that they would let you use. Just ask. Okay, do we have any questions yet, Melissa?
No, it doesn't appear that we do.
Okay, well, we're just racing through today, but don't be scared to ask a question if you want. All right, the next thing we have is our fresh fruit and veggie program. This is what the production record book looks like for that program. The goal of the whole program is to introduce students to different kinds of fruits and vegetables. So we don't want you giving them oranges, apples, and bananas all the time. Try something a little bit more exotic, something new. It can be a very small, little tiny sample if it's expensive because there's no required serving size in this program. We've been getting tons of emails and calls. Did my grant application get approved? Well, we don't know yet. The thing is, we take the amount of money USDA tells us we get, and then we arrange all of the people who applied in the order of 100% free all the way down to in the 20s. I think the lowest free and reduced percentage we were ever able to award was maybe 22. I'm not positive Scott does this, but we can't tell anybody that they have that fresh fruit and veggie grant for this new year until we get our money and find out how much it is. We will tell you the second we know. I'm sure Scott already has that spreadsheet set up, just ready to plug in the number. One thing that we find people do not do enough, and we have to write them up on reviews, is serve some vegetables. I know it's really easy because kids really like fruit, and that's easy, but you need to serve at least one vegetable a week. Try to get something different. I mean, we've seen blanched asparagus spears, just one, that's all, for them to try. If you have different things, maybe you could get some local zucchini, something like that. Just try different things, because remember, the whole purpose of the program is to get them to try more fruits and vegetables. It's really important. That's one thing that'll keep people healthy and not being sick. This is just a little picture to show about the serving size that you might want to use. Just a little sample. You don't have to give them an entire plate full of food. This is considered just a snack and a taste. Use unique fruits and vegetables, even if they're really expensive. When you get, I'm guessing it'll be $50 per student, just like normal. You can figure out what you can afford. I have a little slide coming up about that, but ask your salesman if they have anything kind of exotic that might be cheaper once in a while. On your grant planning, you get 2 actual pots of money. The one is only for July through September, and then the second pot of money starts October 1st. So that would be 8 months. And say that that second pot of money is like $10,000. If you divide that by 8, you would know you have about $1,250 on average to spend per month on your fresh fruit and veggie program. You could talk to your food vendor, whoever you buy produce from, and say, hey, I have this much money. What do you think I could serve next month if I do it, whatever you're doing, 3, 4, 5 times a week? How could we make the best use of that money? And see what they might come up with. Plus, they would be a really good resource for not continuing ed, but nutrition ed for your school kids. Maybe say you got that asparagus, and they could give you some little tidbit facts on asparagus, maybe on red peppers. A lot of kids think red peppers are hot and spicy, but they're not. That might be something to actually show them. You might want to possibly serve it with a green pepper just to see how much better the reds are. I never served my kids green peppers again after we discovered red peppers, because green are like awful and bitter, and the red are really, really good. All right. Allowable expenses. In your claim, you'll put your fruit and veggie claim in every month, just like your regular school breakfast and lunch claim. You can claim the food, obviously, but also direct labor costs like processing and delivering the food. Any kind of serving supplies, little, maybe gloves, maybe PC cups, whatever you need to use. Oh, and don't try to sneak your whole year's supply of gloves into one of these claims, because Scott will catch it. You can also buy small processing equipment like little knives, cutting boards, whatever you need like that. There's a 10% limit on how much you can spend on a couple different things, possibly administrative costs, like if somebody in the office does the claims, maybe even does the purchasing, or if you want to buy a larger piece of equipment, you can figure out what's my 10% limit. And if you could get maybe a sectionizer, a little cooler, something like that, that would be helpful to you, you can do that as well. Maybe it's something you would also use in your lunch program. So you could split the cost, say that you want to spend half of the cost in your fresh fruit and veggie money and the other half in your regular old school lunch money. That would be a way you could justify it, because if you're going to buy some big equipment with that 10%, you have to get pre-approval from Scott to do it first anyway. All right, any questions on fresh fruit and veggie? Anything in there, Melissa? in there, Melissa?
No, not right now.
Okay, sounds good. Now we're going to special diets. I saved the best for last because I figured you'd have questions on this. First of all, they're required. If you're on our school nutrition program and somebody has a medical statement requiring a special diet, you have to do it. You can't say it's too hard or we're too small or we're a private school or any other excuse like that. You do have to comply. It doesn't have to be exactly what they asked for, just to keep them safe. And we have some resources here. The meal accommodations need to be whether you're doing classroom serving, regular cafeteria, grab and go, sending meals home for distance learning, which is a huge question we've been getting. If you are sending meals home, you are operating our program, so you have to comply with all the rules. And one is providing special diets for people who need it. But the thing is, this is reasonable accommodations. You don't have to do jumping through hoops kind of things for them. The main thing is you're keeping that child safe from eating a food that would cause an adverse reaction, but it doesn't have to be really, really precisely what they say. Because I had this one, I always say wackadoodle, I probably shouldn't say that, but a school called me about a mom saying that her daughter could only eat fresh salmon, fresh blueberries, and fresh pineapple, and that's it. She needs that special diet every day. Of course, I just said, yeah, me too. Get a doctor to sign a note that says that. Of course, the mom never could. She just wanted her kid to have that really good, expensive food. You don't have to comply with parent requests for things that they just want. I mean, if somebody says, I wish you would serve, I don't know what, grapes more, and you want to serve grapes more, do it. But if it's something just for their kid, you don't have to do it without a doctor's statement. The medical form has to say what foods are supposed to be avoided, and then how it would affect the person, and then a recommended substitute. There is a thing USDA had a few years ago that a parent can request a milk substitute if they want. But the thing is, the district doesn't have to allow that if you don't want to. The thing about it is, if you say you're going to and you get maybe 1, 2 requests, and then you've said you will allow it, and all of a sudden you get 30 and you say it's too expensive, I don't want to do it, you can't do that. Once you say we will allow milk substitutes, then you have to allow it for anybody who asks. But you don't have to even say you'll allow it. It's just a thing that USDA put out there when so many people were allergic to lactose. Right now, 1 in 3 of the kids that you have in school has one of these 4 things: allergies, autism, ADHD, or asthma. Allergies is pretty big. The CDC says about 8% of our US children have an allergy, and these are the top 8 things: dairy, fish and shellfish, eggs, peanuts, tree nuts, soy, and wheat. Oh, this is CDC resources, which I actually snipped off of the School Nutrition Association website, put on there by the peanut board. We get tons of questions about peanut free. There was a school who said we had gone all peanut free, but now that family has requested distance learning, so they won't even be there. Do we still have to be peanut free? No, you don't. First of all, you never had to be peanut free, but if you decided as a school that that would be the safest route, you sure could. But when that student isn't even there anymore, then obviously whatever meals you send them home, if you do send meals, you make sure that you don't have peanut butter there. But if you had been using sun butter for a few years and you want to go back to real live peanut butter, you sure can. The CDC has really good toolkits you could use. I have a few samples too. This is my favorite website, foodallergy.org. I got this special sample parent letter that a principal can rework and send out to parents if you would have a child with a really severe, like a peanut allergy, who might go into anaphylactic shock if other kids brought, I don't know, a bag of peanuts or maybe peanut M&Ms and then opened it and was eating it in the class. And most people are reasonable, and they know they would really like it if other people would respect their child's safety, so they're hopefully would respect too if you said in that one classroom they couldn't have those kind of snacks. There are great webinars out there if you need anything, and there's a dietitian in Bozeman named Dale Hayes who did a wonderful presentation up at Williston when they went peanut free, and some of the other patrons in the town were really mad about it. She did a really good explanation on that one. I just threw this one in here about the milk sub. If you do a milk substitute, unless it's a doctor's note, soy milk is the only one that's approved. Not rice milk, not almond milk, not cashew milk, not oat milk, not coconut milk, not any of those, because they don't have enough protein. If you're going to do a milk sub, it has to meet the nutritional profile of milk. It needs so much protein, magnesium, phosphorus, calcium, but the most difficult one to meet is the protein. If it doesn't have 8 grams of protein in a cup, no way, can't even consider it for a milk sub. Soy milk does have enough. This brand that I can't even read, but I know that Walmart has a brand that, well, it's their Great Value brand, and then there's a Pacific Naturals that is a soy milk that has enough. This is a little peanut-free sign or null sign. If you do have a classroom with one student really super allergic, you could put this up outside of the door just so people remember that. And one of the things we find out is if somebody has a really severe allergic reaction and possibly dies, it's never in the classroom. It's never in the cafeteria. It's in the classroom, it's on a field trip, it's something like that. Because everybody thinks, oh yeah, we got peanut butter out of our cafeteria, we're done. No, you have to make sure they're not doing crafts with peanut butter and they're not taking peanut butter cookies, peanut butter sandwiches on field trips. That's not your responsibility. That's why it's up to the principal to maybe send that letter to other families and take care of this. I sent that in the first email that Scott sent, the sample principal letter. You can talk to the parents about things like that. If you have gluten-free kids, that's the one we have the most. I sent a little gluten-free sample menu that you could use. If you have any questions, I got to see if this is my last slide. Oh, it must be. Okay. If you have any questions on allergies, you can call or write to us. We'll try to help you as much as we can. I would say the biggest thing is talk to that kid if they're old enough, otherwise the parents. And find out what they eat. Maybe there's a certain cereal they want, because all of the checked cereals that I know of, like Life and the different flavors, are gluten-free. At lunch, you should have things, all of your meats. You would have rice, you would have corn chips, all your vegetables, all your fruit. If you make gravy, use cornstarch instead of flour. You should be able to come up with enough of your normal food to feed a gluten-free student. And I would advise not buying special things like gluten-free pizza crust, buns, bread, unless you absolutely know that student will eat it. We have had so many people go and buy all of that, and then they threw it all in the garbage because that student wanted to eat just normal food like the other kids did. They didn't want people to know, and also they said it tasted bad. So I would check before I would spend money on that. Okay, do we have any questions now, Melissa?
No, but if someone does have a question, they can also unmute themselves and ask their question.
Well, I don't see anybody just running up to the podium here, but thank you for listening. I hope it was informative, and remember to record your professional development on our professional development log. You can even watch just random webinars, podcasts, whatever, about making different foods, trying different things. All of that is valuable to you in your job. If you have a really, I don't know how to call it, difficult diet somebody needs you to comply with, you can call and ask if we can help. But if it's counting carbs, maybe something like that, ask if they're working with a dietitian at the hospital, if she could take your school menu, take a look at it and see what that student could eat, maybe have that menu sent back to you with things circled that that student would eat. Try and get their tray ready and just kind of subtly push it out to them without making a big deal, because they don't want you to make a big deal and single them out in the lunch line. Well, I guess if you guys don't have any questions, we can just break early and get ready for the next session. Thank you for attending. I hope you've been learning something.